Alright, welcome back, and this is part 3, and this is going to be just a couple little extra things you can do in Pixlr to make sure your textures all work out. So I've brought in a door texture by going to Layer, Open Image as Layer, and brought in the door, and it's absolutely much bigger than I need. This is the door over here. I've renamed my layer. So what do we do here? Well, I could go ahead and resize the door so that it tries to fit. So I went to Edit and I did Free Transform and I scaled it down so it's definitely easier to handle. Now I want to talk about what you can do in doing a little bit of cleanup. You could just take the eraser tool, come over here and choose a hard edge brush, like one of these on the top row. And then you can come in here and you can manually erase. So you can take your stylus and you can just manually erase. That's good for cleanup. What I like to do is I like to take the marquee tool, otherwise known as the selection tool. So I'm going to take the selection tool, make sure that you have your correct layer selected, and I'm going to start outside of the layer. Notice my mouse pointer is outside the layer. I'm going to left click and drag a selection box right until I hit the door. Now if the photograph was taken at a weird angle, this might be really tricky. The door might actually be at an angle. So my door isn't perfectly straight, but it's pretty darn close. Okay, and then once I've got an area selected, now I can press the delete key and it basically clears out that part of the layer. And it only touches that layer because that's what I have selected. So that's pretty cool. Now I'll come up here to Edit and I'll choose Deselect All and I can repeat the process. So I'm going to go ahead and select the top of the door up to the top of the metal, like that. If you overselect or make a bad selection, just choose Deselect All, Edit, Deselect All. I'm going to go ahead and try the right side. That looks pretty good. And again, if you don't get it all, just use the eraser and you can zoom in and you can get really good clearance. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to trim off a tiny little bit more here on the right. There we go. Okay, so now is when you deselect all. Now is when you cross your fingers and you hope that this actually works. I don't think mine's going to work. So you have to kind of decide, what do you do? I'm going to say yes. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in, pan over here so we can actually see what we've got here. Okay, so you can see that the door texture is considerably taller. I could distort the texture. I tend to not want to do that. Or I could distort the UV. So let me show you what if I go here and I do free transform, I could go ahead, and this could be an instance where you go ahead and you do something like this and you just make it work. And I could do something like this. So I'm going to try this on the door. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to see if it actually works. So what I'm going to do is, if I keep shift left clicking and dragging, it's going to scale all the different sides up at the same time, and I don't want that. I want the top to stay where it is, I want the left side to stay where it is, and I just want to scale here on the right and the bottom. So the way you do that is you put your mouse pointer on this little star shape here, that's the anchor there, and I'm going to drag it up here to the top left and anchor it there. Now when I hold down the shift key and drag it out, you'll see that it scales out in that direction. And then I'll just go ahead and scale it out this way. Looks good. And we'll see. So this is one of those instances where I am taking a little bit of a chance. Whoa. Great. Okay, so there's no undo. Awesome. Superb. Okay. Well, I had a little bit of a problem there with the okay, so I'm just going to do something like that. Do it here real quickly and go like that. Click, say yes. Okay, excellent. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So that takes care of the door. The next thing I'm going to show you is what I did for this brick here. You have to think about these 4 faces here. In the Blender model, they're actually these guys right here. So they're going sideways, but in my UV image, they're going up and down. So they're rotated. They're actually rotated 90 degrees. And my brick texture here is going the wrong direction. They should be going this way. And that means they'll texture correctly. So how do I do that? Well, you select your layer, and then you come up here to the layer menu, and you've got your rotate layer, and then you've got different degrees. So I'm going to choose 90 degrees clockwise. Why not? And I'm going to go ahead and look at that. That actually works out pretty darn well. It covers all 4 of them. And I'll just duplicate one more time. See if this works. And if it doesn't, we can fix it in Blender. Okay, so that is that. The only things I have left to do are the 3 windows, and I have the asphalt. So I'll take care of that, and that will be recorded in a later screencast, which will be a part 4, which I'll get to probably later today or tonight, and I'll post later online. So thank you for sticking with me. I know I rambled a little bit here and there, but it's totally worth it when we get into it. And if you were noticing, before I finish here, if you're noticing that I have 2 little UVs of this is actually the doorway, I believe, the doorway frame, that are sticking out and they're not textured, I'll show you how we can actually fix that inside Blender. So that's sort of a purposeful mistake. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit File Save, make sure it's a PXD, correct name, hit OK, and make sure it's going to my project folder, and hit Save. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.